Okay, hello and welcome everyone. I'm duckyobrien, and today I'll be covering a game called Sunlight Scream. Sunlight Scream was developed and published by Faithy. It was released onto the PC on October 2nd, 2023 with an MSRP of $2.99 US. This is a visual novel. I didn't play through the end, so I don't know how it ends, but it feels like the general story feels okay, but the pacing is very off, and the original language was not English, so the English translation felt very awkward and just straight up, have grammatical errors and whatnot. But they did release a patch fixing the errors. We'll see how much it feels better. When I was playing through it first, it was terrible. Okay, there are some parts where it didn't feel like it was a human that wrote this stuff. It felt like it was translated from Google Translate or something and just pasted it in here. And for a visual novel where all you do is read, that is a little bit of an issue. So let's get started. Okay, I'll just read it out loud, I guess. The pounding of the train wheels slowed rhythmically, and the green landscape outside the window gradually changed to an urban jungle. The artwork looks okay. It's a little strange in that most of it feels pretty good, but then there's some portraits where the proportions seem kind of off. I don't know, it feels like their heads are too large in relation to their body, but we'll continue. Anyways, awakening from the lulling trance of the ride, I moved to the opposite seat and glanced eagerly out the window. Fortunately, I had no traveling companions, and I spent the entire trip in a half-slumber, immersed in thinking about the future, which was rapidly flowing into the present. I impatiently thumbed through the newspapers lying on the table. Parents beat up daughter for becoming a doctor instead of an actor. Definitely not Asian parents. Be the opposite. The city's mayor passed away from a heart attack. Re-election will be held next week. The annual fall festival is postponed due to the abnormal heat. A government lab in downtown Sunlight City was abruptly shut down following sensational discoveries. See, that one feels a little awkward. Sensational could be good or bad, but like, what does this imply? I mean, obviously, because you can piece things together based on context, it probably meant like something horrific was discovered in the lab and they had to shut it down. A serial maniac nicknamed the Judge has been spotted on the streets of the city again. A serial maniac? What does that mean? Like serial flasher? Serial killer? What's going on here? Yeah, it still feels a little bit awkward. Alright, Sunlight City. The news I deserve. So much for a quiet, peaceful town. That's exactly how my brother described it, based on our rare online correspondence. Yeah, it still feels awkward. The reason why I think it feels awkward is when you're writing like an internal monologue, or you're like describing what's happening, you kind of want to speak in the voice the character has. And that means using more plainer, simpler, colloquial English, depending on which region of the US or the UK or other countries where English is the main language is spoken. And no one talks like this based on a rare online correspondence. Like, you might write that in a paper or a novel, describing things, you use fancier terms, but in common day speech, you're not gonna hear anyone talk like this, especially nowadays, because it's sad, but the vocabulary is decreasing in our more recent generations. Bro, it's like some 1984 stuff where slowly our lexicon, our vocabulary, even idioms are being kind of phased out. We got stupid terms like Riz and stuff, but like for every dumb word we have, we lose like 10 regular words, Anyways, that said though, I think it's great that more and more people are making kind of narrative experiences after playing The Invincible, not the animated series. It's a very slow sci-fi. It felt like a nice movie, and I think video games are a medium to tell stories it can be a passive experience. I don't think you have to play it. Essentially what you're doing is you're making a movie inside a video game. It's a lot cheaper to do that than in any other manner, and in fact video games are kind of like becoming part of movie making, where if you have watched The Mandalorian, they use a gray screen, and what the technology is, essentially you're syncing the camera, real life camera, to like an in-game camera, and then that is the in-game camera is looking at a world developed in Unreal Engine, so you can kind of overlay that with the real actors, and then they're acting essentially in front of like a video game, you know? That's what they're doing. Green screen is just a translucent layer that you just cut out or make translucent, and then it shows a layer underneath. It's not as simple as that, because it's just flat. So apparently a lot of car commercials, the cars are not real, they're rendered in Unreal Engine because it looks better than real cars. So it's a lot cheaper and easier, and you don't have to have real life actors. You do need voice actors, and like you can make a movie. You can make a movie inside a video game, and it doesn't have to be a video game where you're playing. There's a lot of stuff to do. You can just walk through it. And visual novels are an easier form of that, but it's hard to get immersed because you have to read a lot, and people don't like reading. But I think it's a great place to start. A visual novel. Write a good script and then turn it into like a cinematic feel, and then you can have your own movie inside a video game. So I think going forward, what we're gonna see is a lot more people using games to tell stories, and just more of like an interactive movie. Anyways, in fact, I'm even glad to be back in my hometown. If it weren't for the conditions of my move, again, see, this is very awkward. I understand what the author is trying to say, it just doesn't feel good. But that said, like, I'm all for people making games, and the reality is, this is hard too because I make a lot of videos. Whenever you make something for people to consume, they'll always compare it to the best, because for them, from the consumer perspective, they want the best product to spend their time and money on. And it doesn't matter how good you are, or, you know, if you're inexperienced, it doesn't matter to them because they just want the best. And they're not gonna like make concessions for the fact that, you know, if that's an indie dev, so I'm just gonna overlook the flaws, you know, and not play whatever I can that's better than this. Very rarely people do that. Some people go out of their way to play indie games, you know, but the vast majority don't do that. So I understand it with my videos too, where if I make a video, why would they watch my channel when they can watch someone else doing it way better? Something similar or anything different, just better content out there, right? And the reality is, when you're making something, you're not going to be good right away. It's not going to be a banger at the start. So you have to keep making whatever it is you're making and get better over time, and you'll get to the point where people will choose you over everyone else. It just takes time, and you gotta keep releasing products and learn from it, right? And the problem is, people learn at different rates. We have access to different resources, so, you know, you might get there, you might not. But the one thing is, you do have to keep making. Anyways. So I am not like belittling these developers or putting them down. It's more like I'm always seeing things from the consumer perspective, and I try to give feedback where I'm like, oh, if you can improve this, then, you know, it might reduce the amount of friction that people have trying to get into your product. And I also understand it because, you know, I understand how to make YouTube videos and how to do it. I just can't do it. Even if I get feedback, I might not be able to change because I lack the technical expertise to do so. So I understand that as well. But yeah. Anyways, I think the English needs to be touched up a little bit more. We lived here as a whole family growing up with my mom, dad, and brother Chris. By the way, I really mean it. If the developer watches this video and you need help with an editor, I will help as an editor for free. If you put me in the credits of your game, I'll do it for free. That goes for any developer out there that watches my videos. If you need help, I will help for free, okay? Just put me in the credits. That's all I ask for. You know, I can do a little bit of coding. I can't draw or make music, but I can edit English, you know. I can do coding. I can help out. If you need help, I'll help, you know. And just putting it out there. We lived here as a whole family growing up with my mom, dad, and brother Chris, but then my parents had a falling out over something and my mom and I had to move to LA 8 years ago. No matter how hard it was to part with my brother and father, I managed to get used to the big city and join this whole community. I finished my studies and was about to go to university. But now another disaster has happened. My mom was in a car accident and passed away. I simply don't have the money to rent a place, so Chris came to the rescue. He and my father were doing well in business here, and my brother kindly invited me back to Salt Lake City. See, most of it is okay. It might be a little bit inconsistent in terms of the tone and personality behind it, but a lot of people aren't gonna really complain about it. They just want to see the overall story. He's even willing to give me a separate apartment, and I'm going back to my roots. Even if not in the most pleasant conditions, I applied and was accepted to the university, which Chris kindly paid for. So he says he's going to college, but when you see it, it looks like a high school setting. So it might have been like, you know, the author wrote the story set in high school, but then he realized that the protagonists and characters would be underage, so then they just swap it out for college and make it okay. Or it might be that I'm just unfamiliar with universities in other countries, because in the US a lot of colleges don't have lockers, and like it's not in one building. Maybe it's like that in other countries, I don't know. Anyways, but I didn't have much choice in the matter. Chris and I had always gotten along since we were kids, and even from a distance we kept in touch. Outside the window, the platform with the railroad station was already floating, and the final station, Salt Lake City, popped up on the scoreboard. See that? This is a little weird. Scoreboard? Floating? And here I am. Well, hello, old friend. Despite the fact that there were quite a few passengers in the car, a small queue formed at the exit. Well, quite few, sorry. I rose lazily from my seat, stretching my stiff legs. Picking up my backpack, which was crammed full of my few personal belongings, I slung it behind my back and stalked toward the exit. When I got to the station, I was immediately blinded by the sun. It was a sunny city for a reason. There's nice touches with the audio too, you know? Might not be the best sound effects, but like, I like it, you know? If I were to make a game like this, it would be worse. That's all I'm saying. I hid in the shade of the awning and looked around the station. There were passengers and greeters darting back and forth. Again, going back, like, it's easy for me to pick out the problems or things I have criticisms about, but I recognize that this takes a lot of work and effort to make even a visual novel. I get it. You either have to draw the images yourself or you have to pay someone to draw these. I hope no one uses AI generated stuff, you know? This isn't AI generated, you know. It takes a lot of work, because if you want to try, you can try writing a full story. It's going to take you a lot of time and effort. A lot of people won't be able to do it. So I can see the work. I can appreciate the work from the perspective of making a game. You know, I totally can. I totally see that. It's a duality in you know, when I criticize a game, I recognize the perspective from the person making the game. But unfortunately, that doesn't matter to the consumer. So, anyways, there were passengers and greeters darting back and forth, though there wasn't much of a crowd. I strode to the back of the platform looking for my brother. We had made a quick appointment to meet him somewhere on the exit, and I wrote him the number of the carriage, but I didn't see anyone like Chris at the station. I don't think we're going to miss each other. Maybe he forgot, or is he late? I stared hard at the faces of the people, trying to catch familiar features. Yeah, sure, I hadn't seen Chris in 8 years, but he had plenty of pictures on social media. I should recognize my brother. Yes, okay, anyways, there's like a mechanic here where you have choices, and essentially as the battery fills up, it's a more important choice. If it's like here, it's like, oh, it may affect the story later, someone may die later down the road. If it's like green, that means like you gotta pick the right one, otherwise someone's gonna die. So apparently it's like a murder mystery. Alright. I picked this one last time, so I'll pick this one. We'll stand and wait. I decided to wait in place a little longer. I didn't want to get lost if I went looking for him and he for me. A little hidden from the noise of the crowd, I pulled out my cell phone and started dialing, but I didn't have time. I was pulled back by a familiar voice. Hey Max, oh my god, it's really you. Look at this anime-like protagonist. Anyways, a guy in a stylish black jacket emerged from the crowd and waved at me. Chris hardly looked exactly as I expected. Despite our difference of only a few years, my brother looked a lot taller and older. Oh, looked exactly as I expected. Alright, sorry. His hair was slicked back in an uneven comb, but beneath the mask of the serious young man was the most good-natured man I've ever known. Again, a little bit awkward. You can make it simpler. You can be like, oh, Chris looked really serious, but he wasn't. You know, you can keep it a little bit more natural sounding. You know, unless the protagonist is gonna sound more academic or pedantic, you know. Anyways, the mere sight of him made me smile involuntarily. I waved back and hurried towards him. Chris, it's so good to finally see you. He held out his hand to say hello. Yeah, hug your brother, you know. Instead of shaking my hand, I felt a rush of emotion and unexpected rescue. What does that mean? Okay, I stepped forward and hugged my brother. Even though we haven't seen each other for a long time, we actively communicated by correspondence. And even though fate has separated us, he is still dear to me. See, even though it might sound awkward, like, you get it, you know? You see a sibling you haven't seen personally, in person for a long time, but you kept in touch. Chris, seemingly not expecting such a greeting, patted me on the back confusedly. I didn't see you on the platform, so I went for a walk to see if you were somewhere else. Brother! Whenever I see brother, I think of Liquid. Sorry, Ocelot. With, pretending to be a Liquid. Brother! It's been a long time. Lalelulelo? Sorry, enough Metal Gear references. Sorry, I didn't expect traffic at this time. When I arrived, I guessed that you wouldn't stand still and would go looking for adventure. Yeah, I think I found it. I smiled in relief. Although the town is small and crime is not so bad here, apparently the weekly murder is not bad, but caution can't hurt. He regarded me cautiously, smiling full mouth. That's not what that's not what they say here. So you've grown a lot, I'll give you that. Chris glanced behind me, trying to see my luggage. Don't tell me that's all you brought with you. He grinned, pointing to my backpack over my shoulders. It's like you're not moving to another city, you're here for a picnic. Not that there wasn't a lot of stuff in there, but my backpack wasn't very big, so I had to tamp down some of it, and some of it wasn't necessary at all. Well, anyway, yeah, I got all the essentials. I don't have a lot of stuff, you know. I shrugged. Well, the sooner you get settled in. We walked to his parked car in the lot. I threw my backpack in the back seat and we hit the road. The town looked cozy enough, but it was much more built up than I remembered it as a child. It stood on coastal land and was actually surrounded by forests and small mountains. Many one-story buildings on the outskirts were replaced by familiar high-rises closer to the center. There were very few people on the streets. At this time, people were either studying or working. The breeze blew through the windows from the fast driving. Thank you so much. I didn't expect your message at all. I mean, I didn't expect you to invite me back and everything. I don't even know how to thank you. Chris smiled but then frowned. No problem, bro. It's all good. I got some bad news too, though. You too? What's the matter? My father, he had an accident. Anyways, he's gone too. What a nonchalant way to say it. Hey, you know, Pops? He's dead now. Alright. How was your day? Anyways. Oh God, Chris, I'm so sorry. What exactly happened? Why didn't you say something to me before? I wanted to tell you, but you had this happen recently with your mom. I didn't want to add to your poor state of mind, so I decided to hold off. And this feels like a translation. I didn't know how you react. I understand too, like, if I was trying to make a game for, let's say, French, and I don't know any French at all, like, how would I even go about, like, getting a French translation, you know? Like, I don't have the money to pay someone to, you know, edit the script for me, translate it into French. And even if they did, I wouldn't know if it was good. You know? Like, they could lie to me and write in a completely different language. I wouldn't know. I mean, I could put it into Google Translate, but like, I wouldn't know if it was good or not, you know? So, it's hard. I get it. Anyways. I don't know the details, but all I've been told is that when he was coming home late, he was attacked by robbers and stabbed. That's awful. You said it was a quiet, peaceful town. Did the police say that? Did they manage to catch this criminal? Yes, I was informed the next day. The killer was never found. He left no trace. Okay. Anyways, I hope they solve this case. Are you okay? Yeah, we haven't been hanging out too much lately. I was more worried about your reaction, to be honest. I didn't know how to say it. I mean, we haven't really talked much since then. I think it might have been one of his business rivals. He was selling real estate and things are going well. We had no problems with money, but that's just my speculation. The police wouldn't even listen to me. Thanks to him, we had an extra apartment where we're going now. Well, hang in there, I'm happy with any option. Yeah, it's a little awkward. Also kind of weird, like, it's not just weird, but they're like, hang in there. Like, you know, that's sad that our dad died, but like, and then he's like, apartment, I would have taken anything. It's like, why are you mixing these things right next to each other? Like, it doesn't, Anyways. Okay. To go to university, let's skip through to the let's skip through the school part. Okay. It's gonna skip around. So he checked his college website. He's looking at the city. He went to the supermarket and bought some ready-made food. So he went to the register and then he forgot to bring cash and a card. And then someone's like, hurry up. Okay, see, like, this is what I'm talking about. I feel like the head is very large compared to the rest of the body. Anyways, it looks good for the most part. Very anime-like. No one cares. People are waiting here. You can't pay. The exit is the way. Okay, and then now he's embarrassed, and then Chris said, oh, probably some problem with the bank. I'll work it out later. And then wakes up. Okay, now his first day at school. Yeah, see lockers? There's not really any lockers in college, so anyways. That might be just for parts of the US. I don't know how it's like in other countries. There were a lot of people inside, guys bustling around, chatting, walking the hallways. Here's my locker. Almost approaching my locker, I suddenly felt the ground go out from under my feet, and I almost fell, crashing into it. A grinning huge guy grew next to me. Like he was in a flower pot and it just started growing. He was wearing a tight black t-shirt that apparently didn't fit him and long red shorts. Yeah, I feel like this style is like a little bit different from the previous anime characters, so I didn't immediately realize what had happened. He cackled in a bass voice. Only then I realized it was a footstep. What? Look where you're going. You're not on your feet at all. Oh, that's great. Like, who the hell are you? I've never seen you before. Gonna answer with restraint. And why make enemies? He's looks like a jerk. Okay, we're gonna skip through this a little bit. I think if you so if I remember correctly, if you do this, the internet takes too long and you're late. So you probably want to save scum this. Okay. I think it was look for class on a schedule board. Okay. And we got, I think it turns into like a harem almost. I know it's a girl a little shorter than me with shoulder like pink hair standing next to me. She was immersed. This guy definitely liked anime. Okay. Okay, she dropped something. She wrote a story on it. Yeah, the quiet girl. Okay. I don't get why they blush right away. Like, it doesn't make sense. I guess it's kind of like a fantasy where you meet a very cute girl and suddenly there's a connection there. It happens like that for people sometimes, for sure. But like, that's not how it works in the real life as you get older. Real world. Not like this. Maybe when you're young, you know, and naive. Okay. Now you go to class. There's the bully. And then she invites you to sit. A complete stranger. Like, why would this happen? You know what I mean? Like, as you grow older, you realize that you need to like vet people that you hang out with. Because when you're young, anyone will do, right? And then, you know, you think they're your friend. As you grow older, you realize, man, they might not be good people, you know? And you were just hanging out because it was convenient. As you get older, you kind of vet the people that you want to spend your time with. You know, anyways. Okay. Mr. Johnson. Max Hardy? Isn't there a series of mystery novels like the Hardy Boys? I remember the Boxcar Children, if y'all remember that. I remember there was a giant set that looked like a boxcar and they had all the books in there. I wanted that. I read so many of those back in the day. Okay. It's math. Well, another girl. She's like, wow, you managed to attract the quiet girl that doesn't talk to anyone for some weird reason. You literally just met and then you're friends. So quiet girl, this is the not so quiet girl. Again, blushing out of nowhere. I guess he's the killer, I don't know. Why would you mention that he has a chessboard? Yeah, like for example in movies, there's like this general thing people do is anything that's shown has to be used in terms of the plot. So like the most basic example is you're writing a story and you're in like a log cabin and then you mention a shotgun over the mantle, you know, the fireplace. So like if you mention it and it's not used later, it's kind of pointless, right? It's kind of you're directing people's attention to that, leading them to believe that it's going to be used later and nothing happens. It's a little bit different in terms of a movie where, you know, you might be panning over the fireplace and there happens to be a gun there, just part of the backdrop. Or when you're writing, you might just be describing the cabin and how it looks. But if you're kind of lingering on it, if you're kind of focusing on it, and you don't use it, it's like a red herring. So like they mentioned the chessboard out of nowhere. It's shown right here, right? Makes me think, is he just the killer? Like, why would you mention that? Anyways. Making a crew. It's a quiet guy who gets bullied, and he's like, wow, you stood up to Grant, you're cool, let's be friends. Steak and fries for lunch, bro, in a school cafeteria? Like, that's wild. That is wild, dude. I categorically did not understand why no one wanted to keep that company of such a pleasant person. Yeah, see, that's very awkward. Categorically is not the right word to use there. And secondly, like, I don't understand how you would think a person is very pleasant if you literally just met them that day for like a few minutes, you know? Psychological and a bit of a romantic thriller. Murder mystery, like Glass Onion. She's the killer. Okay. You got your crew already. So the pacing was a little bit it felt a little bit slow, but going here, like, I feel like if you kind of rushed to this part, it would have been great. Like, I feel like the prelude, the prologue, whatever you want to call it, should have been shortened a little bit and then start here. Like, this is where it starts to get a little bit interesting. You know, you're introducing the characters, you're creating this setting of the plot and the narrative, you're starting it out. They're like, oh. I don't want to burden you with it, nor do I want to relive it myself. Okay. Literally just met these guys and you're telling them your life story. Okay. Quite adequate, by the way. For the umpteenth time that day, I felt a pang of shame, but I'm used to it. It's just very awkward. There's this quiet guy. Never mess with the quiet guy, man. This guy bumps into her and then spilled juice. And then he's like, uh-oh. And the girl, you spill all over our table. I'll wipe it off now. And she's like, no. Lick it with my tongue. I took it and then licked it dry. What? That's not... I think they made that worse. She's like, lick it. Like some Asian school bullying tactics, bro. That's the girl you ran into at the groceries, by the way. Man, you gotta, everyone just gotta beat up the bully. Like, if you wanna, you can't fight bullying through policy. Everyone has to just beat the crap out of the bully, you know, and then they'll stop doing it. No one will do it if the whole village, if the entire school gangs up on the bully and beats the crap out of him. Hey man, gender equality doesn't matter if the bully's a girl. I beat the crap out of the bully, whoever it is, you know what I'm saying? And no one's gonna be a dick. No one. you know? Minute anyone's, you know, acts up, you just beat the crap out of him. They're like, what, you matter? Okay. So a hidden caller, it's gonna be a mysterious call. It's like, I'm in your house. The call is coming from inside your house. It's like, would you like to extend your warranty on your vehicle? You shouldn't have come to this town. Soon you'll pay for everything. And by pay, I mean for Visa, there's everything else. For everything else, there's Visa, MasterCard, whatever. Answer your credit card company. I don't quite understand. I can't hear you well. Who is this? Should be, who is it? Who is this? Don't worry. We'll meet very soon. I'm sick of your stupid jokes. If you have something to say, say it to me in person. I'm hanging up. You hang up now and someone who cares about dies. I mean, he only has his one brother. I guess the 3 people he just met. Stop pacing the room already. I could have just guessed, man. Or he's inside your trash can. Okay. You're talking to the quiet guy who got bullied. And he just pulls out a Glock from his bag and he's like, I got something for that. For that Karen. Okay, anyways. I think this kind of gives you an idea of what the story's like. I played up to the setup of the narrative. Again, I don't know how it ends because I didn't go through the entire game. The writing is awkward enough where I'm just like, I mean, it's okay, but I'd rather spend my time on something else. I'm not putting the game down by any means. I read the reviews. Most of them seem to like the game or understand that, you know, it's a translation and we're putting up with it. Art style looks okay. It looks like 95% there. It's pretty good anime style. Some of the proportions or styles for other characters are a little bit inconsistent, but yeah. Or you have it, like, if they condense this, I skipped a lot of text because I read it before and I just summarized it for you guys. So I feel like that pacing would have been a lot better. Because I think if they, you know, in like 5 minutes went straight to the school and then after that, like go into this mysterious caller, you know, that will grip people's attention a lot faster. But yeah, the game is Sunlight Scream. Wait, no, I said that wrong. Getting older. It is Sunlight Scream, developed and published by Faithy. It's out now for $3. It's only $3 if you want to check it out. I think it's worth supporting indie devs because there's some potential there, and I think one thing to see is if they keep supporting the game and it's something they're doing because they really like doing, then as they make more games, they're gonna get better and better. So that's worth supporting. Not like the scam developers behind the days before. Holy cow, bro. They released the game on Thursday and then they closed their company on Monday after making around $18 million. Okay. They made it a little bit less because when I read online the stats, I don't know if this is true or not, they sold roughly over 500,000 units, like 550,000 copies. Around 200 people refunded, and so they made less than, I mean, a little bit more than half of that, so around 9 million, you know. But Steam takes 30%. They still made a lot of money, okay? And then their Twitter post said, "Sorry, we don't have enough money to keep developing the game." Some BS, bro. They made millions, and then they're like, "Oh, we're closing." They took the money and ran and closed the studio so they could avoid being sued. What a bunch of nonsense. I don't understand how those guys that made a game that barely works, is an asset flip, they use AI for everything, and it's probably spent like literally a week to 2 weeks, a month at most, making a garbage game. They make millions. There's plenty of indie devs out there making, you know, not the best game, but they're trying mediocre games that actually work and you can spend your time and money on. It's gonna be way less than 40 bucks they charged for the days before, but yeah. Oh, it's ridiculous. Honestly, these things happen because we as consumers keep rewarding that type of behavior, you know? Anyways. It's gonna be it before I keep rambling. Yeah, hopefully this gave you guys an idea what the game is like. Mostly the story, because it's just a novel. And hopefully you enjoy what you saw. If you have any questions, comments, things you'd like to see, please leave a comment down below. And I'm still saying this, if any developer out there wants help with their game, I can put in a little bit of time to a medium amount of time for free if you give me a credit. I just want help. I just want experience working in the industry. I understand as an indie dev you don't have money, okay? I get it, so I'm more than willing to help out. I played, you know, 100 to 150 games, you know, every year for about 3-4 years, so I understand the abstraction of gameplay mechanics and like why it feels good, why it doesn't, you know. I can code, I can write, so I can help in many ways. That's gonna be it. Thank you so much for dropping by and watching. I really do appreciate it, and as always, hope you guys are staying safe and sane out there. And Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. I'll catch you guys next time.